Hello, welcome to the Matchbook Racing Review with me, Tom Stanley, and Don McLean, who is not just the other side of the screen today, but you're al fresco, Don. You're out in the open. It's lovely to see.
The other side of the country, Tom. Yeah. Luckily it's been doing a bit of raining here in the west of Ireland for the last couple of days, but we've got a half an hour of sunshine hopefully. So yeah, we'll go with this.
We've timed it well. Listen, talking of Ireland, I think it's fair to say over the last few days that's where the feature action has taken place, really, and in the main with the Group 1 action on Friday night. Ger Lyons, I like him for many reasons. He doesn't pull his punches either when it comes to talking about specific issues, but he's got a good horse on his hands with Siskin, doesn't he? That, we were all keen to take him on, I think, in truth, at odds on, but he was mighty impressive. He dug it out. He shows lots of speed. The ground didn't get in his way for all Ger was worried about it. I thought he was really good.
Yeah, I know he was very good, Tom. That's 4 for 4 now. He hasn't been beaten. The ground was definitely a concern, and I suppose Ger was right to be concerned about it. He hadn't really been tested on it, and he shows so much pace in his previous 2 runs. So going into a Nick Stakes, his first Group 1 race on easier ground than he's encountered before, and taking on Monarch of Egypt, who, as we discussed, would probably improve from his previous run when Siskin beat him well, but and Royal Lytham as well thrown in there as well, the July Stakes winners. So yeah, it was another step. He needed to take another step forward probably in order to win, but he did. And again, ridden to perfection by Colin Keane. And Ger's always saying that this horse doesn't take any training; he trains himself. But at the same time, you have to manage him, and you have to, he downplays his own role, of course. But he's a top class colt. He's proven it again. And it was good to see it because, despite the ground and despite conditions on Friday evening, you want the good horses to go and prove what they can do. And Siskin's done it again. And I suppose Royal Lytham definitely added solidity to the form along with Monarch of Egypt. So it looks like a very good run as well.
Yeah, I feel like physically Monarch of Egypt is only going to improve, but it's all very well saying that. I wouldn't be keen to suggest that he would reverse the form with Siskin. I'd be pretty confident to say that Siskin will stick at that trip for now, I think, Ger on Luck on Sunday, when I chatted to him, was sort of suggesting if he was pushed now, he'd say Middle Park could be his race. That's sponsored by Juddmonte as well, so that could add a bit of weight to that argument. But I think he thinks he's speed, and I think we'll see him in the Middle Park. I'm not sure they'll go up to 7 with him anytime soon. I could be wrong, but that's what the impression I'm getting, Don.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense, Tom. I think you're right as well. That's the impression that you're kind of getting from Ger and when he talks about the horse. But it makes sense too, and it's not just because it's sponsored by Juddmonte. It's because it's the right race for him. I mean, even when he won the Marble Hill and then went on to the Railway Stakes, we kind of talked about it and kind of thought Middle Park and then see if it wouldn't be the National Stakes after, but the National Stakes over 7. So maybe skip that, go to the Middle Park, and then see if the Dewhurst is the race for him, if he can, or if he wants to step up to 7 furlongs for the Dewhurst before this year is out. Because of course you have to be thinking guineas for next year, for all that he can and hopefully will achieve as a juvenile, and already has achieved as a juvenile. You're thinking classics next year, and you're thinking guineas, and ideally maybe try and stretch them out to a mile for next May. But I think that can be down the line. I think Middle Park, it looks like the correct race for him now, and then maybe think about the Dewhurst over 7. If 7 furlongs. If he gets that okay, then think about the guineas. But I think for now, it's well enough to appreciate that he's won a Group 1 race. So it's Ger Lyons' first Irish Group 1 race. He did win his Cheveley Park Stakes, obviously with Lightning Pearl, and Colin Keane had a Group 1 win as well in Italy for Tony Martin. So it was his second, but together it was their first Group 1 race together. Both their first Group 1 races in Ireland. So I think it's a lot to be. It's a massive achievement and a lot to be celebrated already.
Yeah, and he talks about himself being not the underdog in those colours, but against the Ballydor battalions. I got the sense he loved it as well, which is nice to see. He really did enjoy it. He's not keen to talk about him as a guineas horse yet, because I think he says that's a long way off, and I get that. But we do that as press, don't we? But I don't know. I still, to my mind, the what he's showing, the precocity he's showing, the speed he's showing, I just think that's a way off anyway. And even though we try and pigeonhole horses as Commonwealth Cup horses or guineas horses at this time of year, I think this horse shows a lot of natural speed, and I think guineas could just be a way off. Whether he'll show up in a guineas, I'm not convinced.
Yeah, maybe, and as I said, it's kind of important to celebrate the now, and like as you say, we do get sucked into thinking what's next, and in winners enclosures all over the country, we all ask what's next because we want to know what trainers are thinking in terms of what the next protocol will be now that the horse has won, and now that the horse has taken probably a step up to win. So, look, I think it's kind of fun to kick it around whether he's going to be a Guineas horse or not. It's good kind of food for thought, but it's important as well in racing that it doesn't get in the way of what's already been achieved, and it's a massive achievement to win a Phoenix Stakes. And this horse, like he's 4 for 4 now. We still don't know how good he can be, and I think on Friday he showed as well that he can battle in that ground that probably didn't suit him, and that he was able to battle to beat Monarch of Egypt and Royal Lytham close up. So it was a taking performance. He showed another kind of aspect to his character on the day. I thought to be as game as he was and as gutsy as he was to go and do it, as well as the pace that we know he has. So yeah, look, we can think forward. We can kick it around what he's going to do for the rest of the season, and then I think it's legitimate to think about next season and what he might go and achieve then, because they're the dreams. Phoenix Stakes winners going on as 3-year-olds, all going well. You can dream about what he might achieve next year as well.
And I feel I've roped you into what Sam and I were saying. I think we were more anti in the podcast that Siskin. I mean, you've actually been very positive about him all year. I think you said you wouldn't back him at odds on necessarily, but you wouldn't be absolutely against him. So, and I know even since his first win, you've been very positive about this horse. So, essentially, good shout, Don. Well done, because he's won. And I've never quite bought into him as yet, but I don't know. I think I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and say this is a proper 2-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was a betting proposition at all on Friday. He was odds on, encountering conditions that he hadn't encountered before, taking on a horse who was probably going to improve, for all that he would probably improve as well. There was every chance the Monarch of Egypt would have improved by more because he'd had a longer gap and because he was fairly weak in the market before the Railway Stakes. But yeah, look, he's just a horse who keeps on delivering, isn't he? He just keeps on winning, and when a horse keeps on winning, it's very difficult to knock him.
Yeah. Although then there's always that weird part of you that goes, I want to find out who's going to beat it. We can get it, and then they don't. So there you go. Moving on to Addeybb, I suppose the other performance of the weekend to talk about in the Rosa Lancaster at Haydock on very, very testing ground. It was heavy ground. And William Haggis said, good. I mean, he's had a great weekend, first of all. He had a double yesterday. He had a 6-timer on Saturday. His filly finished second in the Beverly D out at Arlington. They are flying. That's important as well, moving on to York. William Haggis has got such a good record at the Ebor meeting, and his horses, I don't know what it is, they just come to hand so well for that meeting. So that's well worth taking into York, I think, just how much they're having almost got a bit quiet over Goodwood. Not that there's any logic behind it necessarily, because I don't think horses can come good and bad in a matter of days aside of each other, but that there is a lot of momentum behind that team going into York. Addeybb really flew that flag. Miss O'Connor was good as well. But it just shows that ground is important to him. If it comes up heavy in October for the Champion Stakes, that is where that horse will go. And you couldn't rule him out. But he really needs testing ground to be seen to his best and limit the other horses. I wouldn't get carried away with him now being an out-and-out Group 1 horse. But if it was heavy, there's a possibility he could win a Group 1.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's very good. I was against him again. I thought the value was beyond him. And in Pondos, who ran a good race, in fairness to him, he stayed on well.
Mile and a half.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm coming around to that now. He definitely ran like a mile and a half. Although I'd say over a mile and a half, he wouldn't have got any closer to Addeybb on the day anyway on the ground. For all the Pondos handled the ground as we knew he might. He'd handled it at Nottingham the time before that, or a couple of runs earlier. But yeah, look, Addeybb was very, very good, and in that form, we saw it at Ascot when he didn't have the run of the race at all. He was squeezed out of it early. Well, not that he didn't have the run of the race. He was squeezed out of it earlier on and was lit up a little bit, and he still ran out a really impressive winner at Ascot. He was due to run at the Curragh on Irish Derby weekend, but he didn't run because of the quick ground. Then comes on here, and yeah, no, he's once the ground is soft like that, he's very, very good, and the softer the better. Even when the rain was coming, William Haggis says, "Yeah, that's great. We just the more the better." So yeah, a heavy ground Champion Stakes, he'd have to enter the reckoning, wouldn't he?
Yeah, without a doubt. I just sort of feel a bit. I was really keen on this horse when he won the Lincoln, when he went to the Lockinge. I was convinced he was a Group 1 horse, and I backed him in the Champion Stakes last year. And I think we've probably all just got to admit that unless he gets very testing conditions, he's probably not going to win a Group 1 in this country, in Britain or Ireland anyway. So But you never know if it gets very testing. But I think we're comfortable with Addeybb. Well, I am now. I sort of know where we are. And he was disappointing at York. Again, William Haggas said he wasn't quite right then when last seen, but he was spot on this occasion. Anything to add to Addeybb, Dom?
Yeah, it does. It just kind of enhances the LRCam form as well, doesn't it? Like the performance that he put up. Because on the day, I know Addeybb didn't really have the run of the race, and he got kind of in behind in traffic and had to extricate himself and had to finish off. But I think LRCam had gone by that stage. I thought LRCam was probably the best horse in the race on the day, and while it wasn't heavy at York, it was soft ground, and LRCam handles soft as well as it handles good ground. So I think, maybe the William Haggas horses just weren't, and they were kind of 95% instead of 100% around about that time. But as you say, like it's for horses to come in and out of form that quickly, it doesn't really happen. Maybe it's just down to happenstance. But it was a good performance by LRCam to beat him. And LRCam's he's a horse who just might be a wee bit underrated as well. For all that, Mark Johnson obviously loves him given his breeding, and he's right to. But he's just finding his meat here now, isn't he, LRCam?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether he goes Jubmont or not. I'm not sure when that stage is because they'd have to supplement, but it seems like it makes sense based upon his York form. He won a Group 2, so other forms worked out. But William Haggas did say yesterday that he really felt that Addeybb he just wasn't spot on at York, and he couldn't put his finger on why. So I think that's also worth bearing in mind. But that leads us on to York, and two questions really to ask. I think I don't think we need to get bogged down in the Yorkshire Oaks, and
I fancy one on that. I
think I found the winner of that. Although I thought that about Garuda, but this is different. And the Ebor's, a tricky one. I'm gonna actually put one up for the Ebor just for fun, but I don't think we need to give major analysis on all the runners in the race because there are so many of them and it's so open. But as far as not just Elegant, but as far as Crystal Ocean looking to give Sir Michael Stoute a record-breaking 7th Juddmonte International goes, I'm just looking through that field, and I tell you, I think they're going to struggle to stop him. He's got such a good record in the race, Sir Michael Stoute, and Crystal Ocean's form just sets him apart from the rest. He's about 3.5 for it, which is understandable, I suppose, given what he's done so far. But I think he's going to be very, very difficult to beat. I've said 2.5. Sorry, King of Comedy in there's 5.0. And the point I wanted to make about him and a horse Regal Reality as well, who are interesting, is if King of Comedy is his main threat, Don, that walkover of the Knavesmire, it can, we've talked about it with Batash, we've talked about it with Blue Point before, how it really riles them up. That worries me for King of Comedy. Now, if he's his chief threat, Magical, she's 5.5 and she'd have a fair chance, of course. But I feel like we know that Crystal Ocean has got her measure. So I think Crystal Ocean is obvious to say about the favourite. I think he's going to be a very, very difficult horse to beat, and I'm struggling to really fancy anything else. Yeah,
no, look, it's fascinating and it's great. The older horses against the likes of King of Comedy, who the progressive 3-year-olds. It's great when they meet, and it gives us another steer as to where the classic generation fits in with the older horses. Yeah, look, I mean, you have to love Crystal Ocean, and I've always thought he's an underrated horse. Yeah, I thought he was overpriced against Enable the last day, and in fairness, he ran a big race. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see him against Magical again, I think, because at Royal Ascot, he got first run on her, and she wasn't beaten that far by him. And he's 2.5, 2.6, she's 5.5, 6.0. So yeah, I look forward to seeing them take each other on again, and then with King of Comedy thrown in there. A few of the 3-year-olds, maybe, I don't know if Circus Maximus is going to take his chance or Japan. Well,
can I ask you just, I don't know if you've got a steer on that necessarily. I often think because you live in Ireland, you're texting Aidan O'Brien on a regular basis. But not necessarily who you think is going to run, but would one tempt you if one of those 3-year-olds, Circus Maximus 9.0, Japan is 18.0 actually, well priced for the match, but Pink Dogwood's in there as well, Hermosa, both about 26 best price. If any of those were to turn up, would they interest you? I don't know what he's likely to, and you'd imagine he's going to run a 3-year-old in it, but would there be one that really grabbed you? Magna Grecia 26 as well.
Yeah. Look, I of course I don't know what the shape of the Ballydoyle team is going to be, but look, all of them really is the short answer. Like Circus Maximus, a mile and 2, that could probably be his optimum trip. Like he stays a mile so well. Yeah, like you think he might improve. He's a D Stakes winner, so, and he was considered a Derby horse on Derby Day. Obviously, he ran in it, so maybe a mile and two would be his optimum trip. And if he could step forward a little bit from his St James's Palace Stakes win, then that would bring him into it. Magical, obviously she's an older filly, but I think we might not have seen the end of Magical yet, or we might not have. We may not have got to the bottom of her. I think again, a mile and two is probably her optimum. And look, if Japan takes his chance, I think it maybe it's unlikely that he will take his chance. But if he did, then he's maybe among the best of the 3-year-olds this season. So I think whichever of the Ballydoyle horses line up, you have to have a look at them.
I feel like Circus Maximus is obviously the most likely. He's priced up accordingly as well, and you can argue that Triple Sue. But I couldn't make the argument that what we've seen from the 3-year-old colts this year, necessarily the middle distance ones anyway, will be good enough to down a Crystal Ocean personally. I think one of the most interesting horses trip-wise is in the Nunthorpe at York is 10 Sovereigns. Now, he's looking to do, which as you pointed out to me, go from the July Cup to the Nunthorpe Double, which was last done by Mozart, which may have been Aidan O'Brien's last Group 1 over the minimum trip. Not certain, but somebody mentioned that to me the other day, and I was racking my brains for another one. And Mozart emulated what Aidan O'Brien did a few years before with
Stravinsky.
Thank you, Donn. That's why you're here.
Right.
You're back.
That's exactly why. That's the only reason why.
It was 20 years ago.
The 1990s, especially Sundays.
But can he do it? Because I'm really coming round to it. I think when we talked about it after he won the July Cup, I looked back at the race and thought he doesn't race like a horse that's going to win over that flying 5 at York. I'm coming round to it now, Donn.
Yeah, I'm similar. I'm very similar. Like when he won last time, I was thinking, yeah, 6 furlongs. That like he showed all that pace. He was out in front. He was ridden aggressively. He was very, very good. He was strong in the finish. For me, like that was. He was strong up that final climb in the July Cup, and I kind of went, well, he was so strong up the final incline that you'd think that dropping down to 5 would not be the thing for him. But he's got so much pace. He showed that pace in the early part of the race. He led the middle section for all that. I think 1 or 2 of the horses on the near side led him, but he showed that early pace in order to get that handy position. So I think it's so crucial on the July course. And he saw it out really well. But no, back to Fisher. Mozart was the same. He won a Jersey Stakes over 7. He ran in an Irish Guineas and then dropped all the way back down to 5 to win an Nunthorpe. So, and it's also, a lot of what Aidan O'Brien said after the July Cup, that was fascinating. I think it was at Lydia, chatted to him after the July Cup, about dropping back down and trip to 6 furlongs for the Commonwealth Cup. He just wasn't quite ready to be a sprinter for Royal Ascot, having tried to stretch him out for the Guineas. Then he had mentally, psychologically, he was a sprinter by the July Cup, and he's had another few weeks with him. So why not? Why wouldn't he be able to get him to be a 5 furlong horse as opposed to a 6 furlong horse? Definitely psychologically, and he has he showed that early season or early race pace in the July Cup to suggest that he could be easily at home over 5. For all that York is a fast 5, but yeah, I think he'd be a fascinating runner in the race.
Batash 3.5, 10 Sovereigns 4.0, and I look, I've made no secret all year of Batash being a great back and lay horse for all its price is relevant, but the point being he flip-flops from course to course, one that suits and one that doesn't, and I couldn't, hand on heart, back him here. The ridiculous thing is, if he'd never run at the track before, I'd think this would really, really suit, because I think a flying 5 looks as though it'd be ideal for him. But there's something about York he doesn't like, and I think 10 Sovereigns would have a tremendous chance against him, and a half a point or a point bigger, I'd be in 10 Sovereigns camp all the way. Yeah,
we kicked Batash around at the start of the season, didn't we? So Goodwood was a positive, Haydock was a negative, Ascot was a negative.
Positive.
Sorry, Haydock was positive, York was a negative. So now, and it's working out that way.
It just goes, yeah, it goes with, yeah. I mean, but it's history repeating itself. So there you go. And Mabs Cross will have a great chance. She was just beating a pixel last year, I know. But I just think 10 Sovereigns is potentially so exciting, those sub-11 second furlongs, etc., that, Aidan's done it before, and mentally he's coming forward again as a sprinter. The point being, as a juvenile, you'd never have looked as a middle part winner and said that 5 would be any problem. And so I think that it's just they spent so long switching him off, trying to make him into a Guineas horse. I think actually he's really finding his calling now as a Group 1 sprinter again, and I think 5 will be absolutely fine. Just to tie up, I just wanted to mention a horse in the Ebor. It's not a sort of go and remortgage the house job, but if I had to back one now, Barsanti, last 2 wins have been in handicap company at York. Now he's had 2 years in pattern company. He needs a couple to come out to get in. I think he should get in all right. He has become very hard to win with, but the point is big field handicap is what suits him best. They tried cheek pieces on him when last seen because they're trying to unlock the key to him in pattern company, but he quite often doesn't get races run to suit. He's a massive price, so it's a shout a long way out, I know, but he does interest me for the race, Barsanti. He likes the track, and he's only a couple of pounds above his last win, which came here. So I think I think he's worth a flutter anyway, around about 34.0. So that would be my early Ebor shout. And if it comes off, my word, I look like a genius. And if it doesn't, hey, it's an anti-post 34.0 shout. So we're all right, Don.
Yeah, you don't expect those to win, do you? Yeah, Raheen House is the horse I've been kind of kicking around for the Ebor for quite a while. I know he's won it there. You go for the 32-1 shot, and I go for the 12-1 favourite or co-favourite. But it does have lots in his favour. You know, York form, as you pointed out, Tom, it's massive for any race at York. And if Communique, the top weight, runs, I think he's only gonna have 9 stone 3, which is kind of unusual for a horse rated 111. But his first run back for William Haggis was really good, and then his next run was just a build on that with the Ebor in mind. So yeah, look, I can see why he's very high in the market, but I don't think there's any need to get involved with him now, really. I think 12-1. I think he's probably going to be 12-1 for a little while.
Yeah, and I think Jamie Spencer, who is one of my favourite jockeys going, genuinely, he's brilliant. But I think if he had his time again, perhaps he might have gone a bit sooner on him. I don't know. Maybe he's done a great job mark-wise for the Ebor, but he just didn't quite get there last time in the race won by Ed Dunlop's horse. Was it Red Verdon, I think, and Gold Mount. I think the form is really good with Gold Mount in second. I can absolutely see that, and he's well found in the market accordingly. Don, good stuff. Enjoy the rest of your trip. I mean, make no bones about the fact you're clearly on holiday. So thanks for coming on. First.
Oh yeah, no, good. Yeah, no, it's good to chat, and it was good weekends racing, and yeah, good to kick it around a little bit.
Absolutely. We're going to take a pause for the Matchbook Racing review next week. There'll be plenty of pods leading up to York as well, which is the main attention as far as we go racing wise. So I think the pod at the end of this week will focus on the Welcome to Yorkshire Ebor Festival as well, and then we'll kick it around those few days building up to it as well, because there'll be lots to talk about, maybe some pods on the day too. And then we'll take a break, and Don rejoin me in a couple of weeks.
Looking forward to it, Tom.
I want full Tom Hanks Castaway beard. Is that all right?
I'll work on that. That could take me longer than a couple of weeks, though.
Good too, yeah. Good stuff, Don. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks to those of you who are watching. Bye for now.